On Used Bike Heaven this week, we're helping Les Bellingham to find a winter commuter bike. We'll have more legal advice, another featured used bike, and this week's riding tip. This is Les Bellingham. He's a warehouse and stores assistant who rides a pan-European. This week he's looking for a winter commuter bike to save having to spend hours cleaning his beloved pan. So as always, we have 3 machines for him to try.
Hello and welcome to Used Bike Heaven, and I have Les with me. Now Les, you currently own a pan-European, don't you?
That's correct, yeah.
You're not thinking of getting rid of that, are you?
Definitely not.
Right, okay, so what's your story? What are you looking for today?
I'm looking for a winter bike that I can use for daily use, work and back. It's only a short journey. I want something I can keep clean with ease, and just generally something that is going to save the miles on the pan.
Right.
Obviously, yeah.
Cheap and cheerful, and something that you can just throw in the garage and you don't have to worry about.
That's
no
it,
doubt the pan takes some cleaning after you.
Definitely, yeah.
So what's your budget?
Under 3,000.
Okay, you're half going to like me for this. Well, the 3 bikes we've got for you today are the Pegaso, or Pegaso, however you want to say it.
Right.
That blows your budget. That's £4,200. So 4,200 for that. We've got the ER5. Right. That's 2007, so that's all right. And we've got the CB500 there. That's 2,200, so £2,200. What do you think to this lot?
Look like a nice mix.
Yeah.
I think that looks like nice styling and comfort.
Looks expensive though, doesn't it?
Looks expensive, yeah.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a 650, so they're all, I mean, these two are quite similar, but this is a little bit of a spanner in the works in a lot of ways, really.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot higher than I'm used to riding, and it looks a lot lighter than I'm used to riding.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, proof is in the pudding, isn't it? Really. So we're going to let you loose on all 3.
Right.
Have you ever ridden anything like these?
Never.
Before?
No.
Right. Okay. So it's going to be very interesting today, then.
Should be.
Before we let you loose, we're going to go to Paul, who's going to give some facts and figures.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our first bike this week, Les, is Honda's CB500, favourite of many a city commuter. This reliable runabout has been around since 1993. The motor is an inline twin-cylinder of 499 cc's, which develops a fairly modest but very usable 57 brake horsepower. This bike, Les, is from 1998. The mileage is very high at 36,000, but that is reflected in the price of just £2,200. Next we have Kawasaki's ER5. Very similar in appearance to the Honda, but perhaps slightly more retro in style. First introduced in 1995, this is one of the best respected bikes in its class. Again, the motor is a parallel twin, but this time with only 49 brake horsepower at your disposal. This particular example is really as good as new. It's from 2001 and has covered less than 3,000 miles. It's on sale at £2,700. Changing tack completely, we thought you might like to try a traily style of bike. So here's Aprilia's 650 Pegaso. Not only will the riding position feel very different to our first 2 bikes, but the power delivery will too. This is a single-cylinder engine, which certainly won't feel quite as smooth as the twins, particularly at low revs. The only problem with our bike, Les, is that, as Fran has said, it's way out of your budget. It is this year's model and has seen just 2,700 miles. Take a deep breath, Les, because you'll need to find £4,200.
So there you go, Les. That was our Paul with some useful information for you. So we're going to set you out on the Honda.
Okay.
Okay, so you've never been on anything like this before?
Nope.
Right.
Definitely not.
It's going to feel probably a little bit underpowered for you.
Yeah.
But I'll show you about that all in mind. So get your helmet on then.
Right.
Get kitted up and let us know what you think.
Okay.
Okay? So while Les has a go on the CB500, we're over to Paul with this week's used bike review.
If you want to look like your favourite racing hero these days, then it's not really that difficult. You can buy replica helmets like this one, Colin Edwards replica, you can have replica leathers, and you can even have your bike sprayed up to look like a race machine. But if you want to experience the same kind of feel that a top racer does, then there's really only one kind of bike you should be riding. This is of course a big V-twin. Something exactly like this, Honda's SP1. It's not quite the same spec machine which has taken Colin Edwards to world superbike glory, I'll admit, but it's still a sharp-handling powerhouse of V-twin grunt. Launched at the very end of 1999, the SP1 was the most powerful V-twin sports bike available, claiming an impressive 136 brake horsepower. And still today, it remains more powerful than all but the very latest that Ducati has to offer. You know, there's not really a lot wrong with the SP1, and there's not too much to worry about if you're looking to buy one second-hand. They have got a reputation for being a bit thirsty. They don't do that many miles to the gallon, so if you're into loads of miles to the gallon, then that might just be worth considering. Perhaps work it out might cost you a few more pounds throughout the year. There is that slight problem as well with the fuel injection with the pickup, which we've mentioned. That's now been fixed on the SP2. In fact, the SP2 really isn't very much different to this at all. It's only got minor changes. Revised fuel injection system, as I've said. It's got 5-spoke wheels instead of 6-spoke wheels. It's got lighter exhaust than this and a lighter swing arm than this. And in fact, the whole bike is just 6 kilos lighter. So really, that says an awful lot about this, doesn't it? A case of if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Now, this particular one is a year 2000 bike. It's done 4,500 miles. It's in lovely standard trim. It's not got any silly, noisy, daft exhaust systems on it at all. This, in a dealer's, would sell for about £6,000, maybe about 5,900. If you spoke nicely to your dealer, you'd probably get a few pounds off. And whichever way you look at it, it is an awful lot of bike and an awful lot of power for your money.
Thank you, Paul, and while you were away, Les came back with a Honda. What did you think?
Not totally impressed with it.
Right.
I've been a big chap. It feels like a small bike.
Yeah.
Obviously, it feels flat to me after riding the pan.
Yeah.
It's done a lot of miles, and it
Yeah.
feels tired.
Which
really.
is a shame, because obviously you are a Honda man.
Yeah.
So you're probably expecting big things.
Yeah, I was. And as I said earlier on, I've never rode one of these before, and I was looking forward to it, but it didn't do anything for me.
Okay. Well, let's move on then to the
Okay.
Kawasaki, the ER5. So, pretty similar actually. It'll be interesting to see what you think of the difference between these two. 500 twin, so... Do you like the look of this?
I do, yeah.
Yeah?
It looks very retro.
Yeah, it's slightly more retro than the Honda, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think without being dated,
Well.
it doesn't look old style, but it does look retro.
So, get on it then and tell us how it rides.
Right.
Okay. So while Les has a little go on the ER5, we're over to Paul and PC Pulfrey and some legal stuff.
We've spoken in the past about visors, because you've told us what you can and can't have in visors. What we didn't mention is helmets, because there are laws and things that we can and can't have in helmets, aren't there?
Yep.
Tell us about that then.
Okay, first one is, obviously on a solo motorcycle you've got to wear a crash helmet, and it's got to be fastened. So if you see sometimes kids and peeps up riding around with the strap undone, that is actually classified as not wearing a helmet.
Is it really?
Potentially, level 2 fine, £500.
God,
If you report on summons, that's the first thing. It's got to be fastened up properly.
Right.
There are some exemptions to wearing a crash helmet, okay? If you're in a sidecar, you don't need one. If you're a follower of the Sikh religion and you're wearing a turban, you don't have to wear a crash helmet on religious grounds. And if you're pushing your bike, so if your on foot's broken down, common sense application, you don't have to wear a crash helmet if you're pushing it, okay?
About a trike? Don't need one on a trike, do you?
Yeah, there is an exemption for trikes, and that is because the helmet regulations refer to a motor bicycle.
Right.
Okay, so the bicycle being 2 wheels, so the trike's 3 wheels, you don't have to wear a crash helmet.
Oh, right.
That's how you get around that one.
Okay, but the type of crash helmet you're allowed to wear, there are rules attached to that as well.
I mean, the safe rule of thumb is buy it in the UK.
Right.
If you buy it in the UK, it's going to come with a BS stamp, which has got to have to be road legal, and it's got to have to be sold in this country. If you buy it from an EEC member state and you can prove that it's the equivalent or better than the BS stamp, then you can do that.
Right.
Common mistake is people buying from the States and it's got the Snell standard on.
Yeah.
That doesn't, even though it's their equivalent to the BS standard, it doesn't qualify under the current helmet regulations.
Right.
So you can buy your cheap showy from America or whatever, because it's not going to have the BS stamp, it's not actually illegal in this country.
Okay, and we've got this one as well, the ACU gold sticker.
That's obviously if you want to take in a track day or racing, it's got to have that ACU gold sticker on, yeah.
Right. So I suppose the bottom line is, if you're buying a helmet, check that it conforms.
Yeah.
And check what the rules are, because the rules seem to be changing a bit, don't they?
All the time, really.
All the time they're changing, so...
Yeah, definitely.
So
but I mean, if you go to a reputable dealer,
yeah,
it's BS stamped, ACU stamped, you can't go far wrong.
No problem. Good stuff.
That's it for part 1. Join us in part 2 when Les tells us what he thinks of the ER5 and we send him out on the Aprilia Pegaso, or Pegaso. And Paul will be back with some riding advice. See you after the break. Welcome back to Used Bike Heaven. Now, if you were with us before the break, you'll know we're with Les, who is looking for a winter hack to go to work on. Currently owns a Pan-European, but wants something else for the winter months. So we sent him out on the Honda CB500, and he really didn't like that. Then we sent him out on the Kawasaki ER5. And what did you think to that, Les?
Very nice. I was well impressed with it.
Good, why?
More comfortable.
Yeah.
It feels a lot more tighter. It feels like a younger bike.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah. It's got the delivery. And I like the look of it.
I was going to ask you as well, because obviously you're used to all that fairing and the shield.
Yeah.
You haven't got anything like that. You're very exposed on these.
Yeah, but I won't be using it for a lot of miles.
Right.
I only do 4 miles to work and back. So
you can handle that.
Yeah,
Bit of
that's it.
snow in the face on the visors, no problem.
That's right.
Right. So we like the looks. Obviously, you do like you've said. You like the retro
I like
looks.
the idea of the engine bars.
Well, you never know.
If you get bad weather, then it could always go sideways.
It could. We don't aim to do that, obviously, but
Obviously
it could
not,
do.
no.
Right. So we like that one then.
Yep.
Now we're going on to the spanner in the works. Different style, different size engine. I've 650 engine, so should be a little more powerful. And a complete spanner being, you know, almost twice the price of the first one, 4,200. So we actually then just need you to tell us what you think to the ride.
Okay.
Okay, get your helmet on. Let us know what you think. So while Les takes the Aprilia out, we're over to Paul with some riding advice.
Well, thank you, Fran. Now we're going to talk about winter riding today. And the thing with winter riding is roads that you normally ride on, that you know to be good and you know to have a good surface and you know which way the road goes, can become potentially hazardous in the winter for all sorts of reasons. Another thing in the winter is with your tyres. Your tyres don't perform to the best until they get to a good temperature, a good warm temperature. They become nice and sticky. Well, in the winter, that doesn't happen. It takes longer to get them warmed up. Some days they'll never warm up properly because it is so cold. Now this particular road is one of my favourite bits of road. It's a cracking bit of road, this, in the hills. In the summer this is fine, you've no problem at all. Even over there where there's some uneven surfaces where it's been repaired, in the summer you sail over them, no trouble. But in the winter, those uneven surfaces where they've been joined, the tarmac's been joined, you get a tar banding, that can become very, very slippy when it's wet. Also this road has got some little ruts in it here and there. Now they will hold water, so if this road has been frozen, it may have all thawed out, it may be nice and fine now, but where those ruts are, the water could be an inch or so deep. That will be ice, that will not thaw out, that will be there for a long time, so you need to be aware of that. White lines and markings, and when you see, you know, big white lines where it says slow across the road in that white paint, well, that is slippy. So if you see that, ride between the letters, don't go over it if you don't have to. Try not to brake when you're going over the white lines if you can help it. Leaves are a problem in the winter. Open any riding manual, it'll say causes of skidding, wet leaves. Well, wet leaves, okay, yeah, you get them at the side of the road, but very often on some roads you'll get them down the centre line of the road. You get a pile of them, all wet and soggy and horrible. So if you're going to be considering overtaking some other vehicles, you're going to have to cross that. So be aware of that. You might pull out, it might be clear, then you might run into a load of damp leaves down the middle of the road. It's not good at all. If you should be out in the middle of nowhere and you get flooded, so let's say the road gets flooded, it's full of water, you'd be daft to be out on a bike in that weather, I can tell you, but it could get flooded if you're in the middle of Wales or somewhere, let's say. So you're going down the road, water. Where's the best place to ride your bike? Obviously, in the shallowest part of that water. You don't want to be going through deep water. Where is the shallowest part? Well, generally speaking, on the crown of the road, because if the road's shaped like that, it's shallowest in the middle. So you want to be riding down the middle of the road. Obviously, you make sure there's no oncoming traffic and make sure it's clear to do so. Chances are there'll only be you out there anyway. But ride down the middle of the road because that is the shallowest bit. But the thing is, the golden rule with winter riding is roads that you know to be good, you need to take extra care on, be extra cautious, because good roads in the winter can become potentially treacherous.
Well, thank you, Paul, and while you're away, Les returned with the Aprilia. What did you think?
Pleasantly surprised.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you think then when you saw this bike?
I thought it was big and bulky,
Yeah.
and I'd never ever considered riding anything like that. I don't mind buying, but I really was surprised.
Yeah.
It's very comfy. You do sit upright on it, but you get the
Bit of protection.
from the front with the screen.
Yeah.
And it's just very, very nice. It doesn't, when you're riding it doesn't feel as heavy as it looks. And you are sitting high, so you can see everything in front of you. You can see past cars that are in front of you, which is very comforting, especially in bad weather.
Yeah.
It's just very nice.
Brilliant. Brakes are all right on it then?
Yes.
Everything's fine on it. But there's one problem, Les. It's £4,200 and you've got 3.5. Really sorry to bring that to your attention. Is that a real problem?
I wish you hadn't brought it.
Okay.
Let me put it that way.
Thank you very much. I like to be a bit devilish like that, though,
yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a problem. I mean, I would try and get the extra money together to buy that. I would.
Don't give me too much.
No.
Don't give me too much information right now.
As I say, if I was in the market for it, then yes, I would.
Okay. Right, so
Try.
we're not ruling that out. All right then. Okay, so I need you now to cast your mind back to the Honda. I know you probably don't want to remember the Honda, but can you think of
no,
briefly
not really.
good and bad points?
Good points. It's cheap.
Yeah.
Honda's reliable. Wouldn't have to worry about whether it's going to start in the mornings because I work early shifts. I can't really say much more about it.
On the good side, on the bad side, briefly.
It's too low.
Yeah.
The handlebars
The
are
two
not.
that you felt a bit.
I felt
Yeah.
really crushed
Yeah.
on it.
And
It
it's-
feels really tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everything just feels loose on it.
Right. Okay. So the Kawasaki, briefly, good and bad points.
Good points.
Yep.
It's very comfortable. I like the riding position.
Yep.
I like the styling.
Yep.
The clocks,
Yep.
very nice. It's got good power delivery. And I just think it's a good all-rounder.
Bad points. Any?
It's maybe a little low for me.
Right. Okay. Well, so then we know what you think about the Aprilia.
Yeah.
So, have you made, don't give me too much information, but have you made your mind up out of these three?
Yes.
I'm not convinced. Well, before you tell me, we're over to Paul, who's going to give us a quick recap.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, it's decision time, Les. Will you opt for Honda's CB500 at £2,200? You seemed a little disappointed with this bike and you said it felt a little cramped up whilst riding. Or could it be Kawasaki's highly respected ER5 at £2,700? You were quite complimentary about this bike. You certainly preferred the riding position on this one, but once again, there's no weather protection. Now, could a pan-European rider really get used to that? What then about Aprilia's Pegaso at £4,200? Without doubt you found this to be the most comfortable of the three and the best looking, but remember, Les, it's nearly twice the price of the Honda. Fran, it's over to you.
So there you go, Les. That was Paul with the recap. Are you going to tell me which one it's going to be?
To stay within budget, it'd have to be the Kawasaki.
Fantastic.
However, I have been converted.
Oh, good grief. So would you go for that?
I would go for that, but I think I would go to the showroom and try and find something that style, but a little cheaper.
So you are converted then?
Yeah.
So, I mean, fantastic. I mean, just run it by me again. What exactly drew you to that one? Because you seem to really like the Kawasaki.
Well, I do. I do. I like the retro styling on it, the clocks and everything. I think it's a really nice bike. But
it's a good price.
Yeah, it's a good price.
Yeah.
But it feels bigger, but it's really easy to handle. Mm-hmm. You're sitting higher on it. You can see everything.
Right.
It feels so much more substantial.
You've got the look of love in your eyes.
Well, I can't really take my eyes off it. I really do like it. It's a nice bike.
It's everything you're looking for then, that style of bike.
Yeah, and it's really surprised me.
So, I mean, that opens up a whole new field to you now, because if you're going to look for something in that area, like a traily style bike, but a bit cheaper within your budget, it's a whole new programme.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm really glad you've fallen for it and you've found something you really like.
It is a very nice bike.
Brilliant.
That's all I can say.
Marvellous. Well, thank you, Les.
Okay.
So I've managed to convert a Honda Pan-European man to a traily man. That's fantastic. Join us next week for some more Used Bike Heaven. So it's another programme now. So at least you're keeping me in work.
On Used Bike Heaven next week, we meet Stuart Smith, who rides motocross but fancies a road bike. He's not sure what style to choose, so we'll let him loose on 3 very different machines. We'll also have more biking legalities, another featured used bike, and some more riding advice.